And hello and welcome to Winton Motor Raceway, round 2 of the 2022 Hi-Tec Oils Australian Super Truck Nationals. I'm Lockie Mansell. Joining me in the commentary box, Gary O'Brien. Gary, it's a crisp and chilly but fine and sunny conditions at Winton Motor Raceway for the second round of the Super Truck Championship. And we've got pretty hot contest at the top of the points table with Stephen Zammit and Shannon Smith separated by just 2 points coming into this round.
It was so close at the first round with Zammit just taking one race win, but his consistency got him there. He's on his way to his 7th championship.
Having a look at our points after the opening round, and consistent performance from Mark Noonan in the Scania has him sitting in 3rd position on the points table, but unfortunately a few part supply issues have forced Mark out for this weekend. Marcus Prilwitz and Barry Butwell, the two Max Superliner drivers, sitting in positions 4 and 5 on the points table, ahead of Robbie Fern, Frank Avaroso, who had a bit of a tough round in the season opener. The truck paddock is full of big characters. Let's find out what they love most about this category.
I'm Marcus Prilwitz. I'm from Victorian Diesel Services Racing, and I race super trucks because there's a challenge in making a truck do something it's not supposed to.
My name's Anthony Tringali and I'm a super truck driver. Race for Tringali Racing, and I race trucks because my dad got me into it and now he can't get me out.
I race super trucks for the thrill of the close racing, coming into those corners with 6 ton going flat out. It's great.
I race super trucks. I race for Kinetic Fleet Services.
I race super trucks and I race for Hi-Tec Oils.
I race super trucks because, I'm better than my brother.
I thought I was better than you racing super trucks.
Do it all for the power, the atmosphere and the family.
I'm Rob Fern. I race Truck 23, super truck for MLC Racing. And I race super trucks because they're big and angry, just like me.
It's Stephen Zammit, SRZ Racing, and why do I race super trucks? Well, why not?
I own the Fate Racing team. I've been racing super trucks for over 30 years. I get the biggest buzz that I still get the same buzz that I did 30 plus years ago, actually. It's something I really enjoy, and it keeps me young, actually.
Test your abilities and make something that shouldn't go fast or round a corner, go fast and go round a corner.
So when I come racing here, the best part about it is there's no traffic, and if there is traffic, you just get to bump them off the road or bump them off the track, so nothing better than that.
Anthony Tringali, one of many characters that you will find in the Super Truck paddock. Getting ourselves set for race number 2 of the weekend. We had race 1 for the Drivers' Championship yesterday afternoon, and they will line up as they finish that race. Stephen Zammit, our current championship leader, on pole position. Barry Butwell, who was pretty quick yesterday in the Max Superliner, out of position number 2. Shannon Smith and Marcus Prilwitz had a bit of a coming together. They will start on the second row of the grid alongside one another and resume their hostilities out of positions 3 and 4. Gary O'Brien, it's going to be a pretty hot contest. Some scores to be settled, some rivalries to continue brewing away under the surface, but they're all chasing after Stephen Zammit.
Well, traditionally we are on the short circuit here at Winton Motor Raceway. Steve Zammit on the pole. He likes being up the front, doesn't like so much coming from the back. When he's in front, he's a hard man to beat.
Underway, and Barry Butwell, a good start from position 2 on the grid. He's trying to hang tough on the outside of Stephen Zammit as they head through turn 1, but Stephen Zammit with the preferred inside line through turns 2 and 3 on the run up towards the sweep of the highest speed section of the circuit. He has managed to take the lead. Shannon Smith slots into 3rd position behind Butwell, and then it's Marcus Prilwitz in the second of the Max Superliners, driven through a road range of manual gearbox, sitting in position 4.
And Shannon Smith will be keen to get past Butwell. Butwell, of course, had a shocking round at the first outing this year at Wakefield Park, but with this new power setup that he has, a new wastegate in that truck, certainly found the power this weekend.
Actually gone back to the twin turbo setup in Barry Butwell's truck. Garrett, they were experimenting with a single turbo setup. They couldn't get either the power or the reliability that they needed to be competitive, so they've gone back to the turbo setup and say move a bit further back. That is Frank Avaroso making the spot down into turn 8. A nice move there up the inside of the Isuzu of Mark Schutz.
Well, he needed to get past that Isuzu if he wants to tag onto the big trucks that are up the front of the field. And at this stage, they're still in the same order they were on the opening lap.
Mark Schutz doing a really good job this weekend. In fact, that Isuzu doesn't have the horsepower or the engine capacity of the bigger super trucks, but he's very nimble around the tight technical parts of the circuit. He recently installed a newer, bigger and more powerful turbo on that truck. It's given it a bit more straight line performance to take the fight up to the big rigs, and Mark Schute's having a pretty good weekend so far.
See that Salmon has pulled out a little bit of a gap, living this three-way dice for second. It's very close at the moment. There we have Butwell ahead of Smith. Pruitt's trying his best to hang with these two as they go around the top part of the circuit.
Shannon Smith, effectively what you would describe, Gary, is the defending champion, because last time that we completed the full Super Truck Championship was back in 2019, and on that occasion it was Shannon Smith who was the winner. His co-driver Harvey Dale won both of the team's championship races yesterday as well, so has pretty good form on the board, but needs to get past Butler to have a crack at setting off after Stephen Zabber.
Well, as you say, Lockie, he is carrying the number one, and that's for good reason.
So Butwell just becoming a bit of a cork in the bottle here, I reckon. You can see that Zavin is pulling well clear of the rest of the field, but Butwell under pressure from Smith. Drillwick's closing in as well. Marcus Drillwick's continuing to do a magnificent job in that back superline, which is the only manually driven truck in the top five at the moment. All of the other trucks have got automatic transmissions, and it's a bit of a rarity for racing cars. Normally, in motorsport, we talk about manual gearboxes being the transmission of choice, but in truck racing, the automatic is actually a bit of an advantage because it allows you to keep the engine on boost and keep the turbo spooled up.
Well, Trent Galley is one of the latest to make that move for this meeting, the first time having an auto, and has had some difficulty getting used to it. In the meantime, no difficulty out in front for our race leader. Steve Zammit has got quite a gap now over Butwell in second. Butwell seems to consolidate that position somewhat as Smith follows him home in third position with still 2 laps remaining.
Fastest lap of the race that we've seen so far, set by Stephen Zammit on lap number 2, 1 minute 14.6. That's only 0.2 of a second slower than the lap record for the Super Trucks here at Winton, so very handsome lap times being recorded by our race leader. Zammit actually fancied his chances before this race of having a crack at the lap record. Certainly the truck's performance in qualifying indicated that it was a possibility that he might give it a nudge. Hasn't quite got there, but geez, close.
Well, will this be the best opportunity to do it, or will it be the next race? Harder, I guess, because he'll be coming from the back of the grid.
Indeed, we have reverse grid formats in place for races 3 and 4 in Super Truck racing, but the cool conditions that we've got at Winton Motor Raceway are pretty much perfect for the performance of these trucks. It's nice and sunny, so there's plenty of grip in the racetrack, but equally the ambient temperature is very low. It's only about 12 degrees out there at the moment, so nice cool air getting into the intakes of these engines and keeping the turbochargers nice and cool. That means that these trucks are putting out some serious horsepower.
And these two still, Smith not quite content to be in third spot. I guess he'd like to get onto the back of Butwell and take that position away from him. Just not quite got that gap measured down to a point where he can do something about it.
Stephen Zammit was struggling with some overheating problems in the opening round at Wakefield Park, and one of the things that we saw, Gary, is when we got into the later stages of the races, he was having to back off a bit and conserve because the truck was just getting too hot, and in the interests of preserving the engine, he just had to be a little bit conservative. We're not seeing any such signs of that sort of trouble this weekend. They've made some upgrades to the cooling system since Wakefield Park, and that seems to be working very well for Stephen Zammit at the moment.
Marcus Pruitt's on screen at the moment. These Mack Superliners date back to the AAA towing rate days, and of course you can still see AAA on those trucks, but they've certainly come a long way as far as development since those early days when they raced as a team.
Indeed, back in 2014 was when they saw them making their first appearance in the Australian Super Truck Championship, and since then it's been a big development curve to improve both their performance and their reliability. Speaking of performance and reliability improvements, Frank Amoroso has a brand new engine on board his truck this weekend. Had some camshaft problems at Wakefield Park, which meant that he lost a lot of points through some non-finishes, but the brand new engine seems to be running faultlessly so far this weekend.
Here's our race leader going through the top part of the circuit for the final time in this race, and certainly he's not been really threatened throughout this whole race, has he? He's just been on track with those quick times that he's put in earlier.
If you've got a fast truck, of course, you can qualify well, you can qualify up the pointy end, and if you've got the pace, you can put your head down and extend your margin over the field. That's what Stephen Zammett's done, and he's done to perfection as Mitchell Krilwitz in one of the Isuzus runs off the circuit on the final lap. Fortunately, manages to steer clear of race leaders, but it is Stephen Zammett who's going to pick up the win here at Winton Motor Raceway with an exemplary drive from the front of the field. Really, really well judged. Barry Butwell started to reel him in a bit there towards the end, but it was too little too late. Zammett a comprehensive victory. Butwell second. Shannon Smith in third spot. Really not where he needs to be in terms of the championship fight. He's really finishing ahead of Stephen Zammett to minimise the points lost as much as he can.
Yeah, then we had Marcus Pruitt and Frank Amoroso, the next two. Unfortunately, out of this race, Lockie Fern, they had an engine drama in one of the team's events where knocked the top off a piston, in actual fact. So that was their weekend done and dusted. The results up on the screen and it's Steve Zammett, the race winner, ahead of Barry Butwell, Shannon Smith, Marcus Pruitt, Frank Amoroso came home in 5th spot.
Let's get some thoughts from our drivers after that race.
Well, actually, I should have started 5th on the grid, but Robbie Fern has a mechanical issue and won't be racing for the day. So I moved up to the 4th spot on the grid, and Shannon moved into Robbie's spot of 3rd. And basically, I think the race finished as we were gridded.
Yeah, we go 3rd that race, so it would have been nice to be up front a bit more, but Stephen's he's nearly a second quicker on us at the moment, the lap time, so he's got that thing going well. I was worried about running the Barry, so I had to sort of back off there and get him to get his line back and keep going again. So
as soon as we got over that start-finish line, I seen him in the mirrors there, and I was me and Baz come together in turn 1 as per usual, and mate, I just put my head down, arse up, and I was gone. So put about 3 good laps in, and then I knew they were doing sort of mid-16s, and I just kept doing those and couldn't catch me. So the weather's turned on today, so we'll see how we go in this next one. Reverse grid, bit of my specialty. If I can get through, might have a crack, but it's all about points for the end of the year for me. So yeah, we'll just see how we go.
We'll have the first of those reverse grid races coming your way on the other side of this break. Over the last few seasons, one of the great storylines of the Hi-Tec Oils Australian Super Truck Championship has been a great rivalry brewing between Stephen Zammett and Shannon Smith. We caught up with both drivers to find out about their strengths and weaknesses and how they say this season's rivalry playing out.
Yeah, so to date I've won 5 Australian championships outright and 2 New Zealand outright championships.
Yeah, we're the current leading team series, and won the series in 2020 championships.
He spent all year reeling Shannon in and just couldn't quite get the job done. So full credit to him, he done a good job, and so we're here this week and this year to try and take that number 1 back. Yeah, look, they're very similar trucks. They're both Kenworths. It's probably the most similar, but everything that we build on these trucks is handmade to our own liking. So he's running a different. I think the only thing that's the same is our gearbox. All our brake package, engine package, everything's different. So we are driving complete different trucks, but as far as on the circuit, they're both just as quick. So yeah.
Yeah, so it's a Detroit. It's a DDEC 3 computer. We're running it. Bob Daly looks after all the programming, rebuilds a motor for us. It's 12.7 litre. Got twin turbos on it. So it's about 80 psi boost.
Ours is a nice smooth power, but mate, Bobby Dale and Shannon's got that truck absolutely cracking. It's so fast. So yeah, mate, just smile in your mirrors because I'll be looking in them.
It's time to shuffle things up as we get ourselves set for race 3 of the Super Trucks of Winton Motor Raceway. The grid positions will be a full inversion of the finishing order in race 2. Gary O'Brien, that means that we've got the faster drivers starting at the back of the field. They'll have to fight their way through.
And as we know, these can be somewhat interesting, to say the least. With Mitchell Pruitt's on pole, Anthony Tringali alongside of him, then it's Mark Shoots, Frank Amoroso, and the rest of the lineup, the really quick guys right at the back of the field. This is where all hell could break loose.
And I think it will break loose because here at Winton Motor Raceway on this shortened club layout, the original configuration of the Winton circuit, it's not easy to pass. Short braking zones, not a lot of long straights, tighter technical corners, overtaking opportunities at a premium, and if one driver decides to defend, it can be really hard for their rivals to overtake. Underway, and 3 wide down into turn 1. Great start from Frank Amoroso, but Mitchell Pruitt's fighting back on the inside. He goes right off the racetrack. Anthony Tringali off the track on the outside as well. And Mitchell Pruitt is going to be bucking in the rough. I don't think he's going to get going from that position without some assistance.
He's trying to get this truck to go forward, but that sand is pretty deep there, and once those big heavy trucks go down into it, there's not much way you can get out of it. You can see more actually going on through the rest of the field. You can see the slight contact coming out of turn 4, and again they continue on this great battle between Shoots and Marcus Pruitt. One's in the bunker, one about to take the lead by the look of it, and there was definite contact there, and Shoots goes off the track. So go around this corner, I think we might be under a yellow at this stage.
Yeah, well that's an interesting one because at the back of the shot there, Gary, you could see that there was a yellow flag flying. Safety car has been deployed by race control. The clerk of the course, Richard Weston, has decided that Mitchell Pruitt's Isuzu is in a hazardous position and will need some assistance to get going again as we pick up the Hi-Tec Oils replay to see exactly what happens down there in turn number 1. And Mitchell Pruitt had it all locked up. He was in super deep under brakes as he tried to recapture the lead from Frank Amoroso, but he just had no control whatsoever when they got to turn 1. This is the battle for the lead. And look at the top of the shot there, the yellow flag's waving. That's the thing that the officials will look at, and I just get the feeling there, Gary, that Marcus Pruitt might be in a little bit of strife for that one.
Yeah, there's a possibility. We'll have to just wait and see at this stage. But how lucky was Frank Amoroso? He got to the lead straight off the start, and then we've seen Mitchell Pruitt go down the inside of him. If he hadn't been aware, it could have been a 2 trucks going off at turn 1.
Really, really good job from our very hard-working volunteer recovery crews here at Winton Motor Raceway. They've done a great job of getting Mitchell Pruitt's truck towed out of that turn 1 gravel trap. He's back out on the racetrack, and we are set for a race restart this time around. Mitchell Pruitt has been able to rejoin the track, but he is a lap down on the rest of the field. And it's Marcus Pruitt, his dad, who is the race leader after a somewhat controversial incident with Mark Shoots coming out of turn 7.
And Shannon Smith in second spot. Then it's Barry Butwell and Zamet trying to go down the inside of Amoroso out of turn 1.
And off the road once again at turn 1, Anthony Tringali. He was a little bit wide on the opening lap as well, but it's Pruitt's your race leader. Smith under some pressure from Butwell, Amoroso and Zamet both in there as well. It's going to be a hot contest between those trucks. Track position at an absolute premium, and Stephen Zamet looking to the outside as he tries to maximise his exit speed out of turn number 5 and get up onto the tail of Frank Amoroso.
Yeah, Frank Amoroso won't be easy to get past. Neither will Mitchell Pruitt. He doesn't, Marcus Pruitt I should say, because he's out in front and he's determined to stay there.
Here comes Stephen Zamet, will run out of turn 7, gets into the slipstream of Frank Amoroso. They get down into what will be the longest braking zone on the circuit into turn number 8. These trucks are speed limited to a 160km/h top speed. It's done for safety reasons as much as anything. These trucks carry a lot of momentum and a lot of mass, and you don't want them travelling too fast if they do happen to get a bit out of control.
Yeah, well, the only way you can really do anything about it is your acceleration out of your corners and the braking going into them. And I noticed then that Zamet was trying to get out of that last turn to get up past the start-finish line ahead of Amoroso, wasn't able to do it, but now he's in a better position, comes through the turn 3 sweeper, gets in front as Amoroso decides that, well, I'm going to go. Can't quite do it around.
He tried to hang tough on the outside there, Frank Amoroso, but of course couldn't get off the racing line of the sweeper. There's lots of marbles on the outside of the circuit and the grip level deteriorates quite significantly. That's what Frank Amoroso found there. He's off in the boondocks and rotates the number 96 lane racing Kenwell.
At least he got it back in order quite quickly. Got himself back out. As you can see, just too fast into that sweeper, ran out of road, and as he tried to make his way back on the track, unfortunately still had too much momentum and spun it around, gets underway very quickly.
I don't actually think he lost any positions out of that, Gary. That was a pretty good recovery, all things considered. Check out the battle for the lead though. Thrillwitz holding on from Smith. Buckwell, Zammit in there as well. It's a 4-truck freight frame fighting it out for the lead in this reverse grid race with 2 laps to go.
As you say, it's very hard to pass around here, and they're finding out the hard way just how hard it can be because there's just no way through at the moment.
But the trucks will have different strengths and weaknesses in different parts of the racetrack. We know that Marcus Prilwitz, with the Road Ranger manual gearbox, might just be at a bit of a straight line speed disadvantage compared to the trucks with automatic transmissions, but very, very nimble through the corners, Marcus Prilwitz's truck. That's where he's able to keep his rivals at bay.
And he'll be able to pick up a lower gear out of some of the corners, which may give him just that little bit of advantage, just minimal, I know, but enough to keep him in front as they head down the straight. There's Butwell all over the back of Smith now, again trying to find a way around. As you say, they have to brake fairly early, and they're already Butwell going for the move, or attempted to, but Smith had him covered and holds on to that second position.
Just noticed a bit of damage to the front fender of Barry Butwell's back superliner, so clearly that's resulted from a little bit of contact with another truck somewhere around the circuit as Zammit looks up the inside of Butwell heading into turn 1. We are on the final lap this time around, so last chance for these drivers to make an overtaking opportunity. What a thriller this is, with the 4 trucks still absolutely locked together.
Well, if anything, Pruitt has actually got away a little bit, and now has Zammit done the same thing to Butwell, because Butwell will be very much concentrating on keeping Zammit behind him. The pair of them, as I say that, get right back on the tail of Smith as they head up towards the back end of the track and run home.
Prilwitz has definitely been able to take advantage of the clear track that you have when you're in the race lane. He's been able to put his head down, concentrate on building the margin to the trucks behind us. Shannon Smith has a massive sideways moment there at turn 6, just costing some momentum, but manages to keep it on the racing line. No overtaking opportunity that time through for either Barry Butwell or Stephen Zammit. Zammit, last roll of the dice as they head down into turn 8. Can he get alongside Barry Butwell? Not quite. Here comes Marcus Prilwitz in the Max Superliner to take what will be a provisional race victory. We think there might still be a bit of an investigation for that early move that he made up the top end of the circuit on Mark Schutz. Side by side to the finish line, Butwell just holding out Stephen Zammit for 3rd place. Super tight at the finish between those 4 trucks, with only a couple of seconds separating them as they cross the line.
Well, as we said after the earlier race, is Butwell the fly in the ointment this weekend in this battle between Zammit and Smith?
It could well be, and had a bit of a tough weekend at Wakefield Park in round number 1, but if they keep scoring points, there's no reason that Barry Butwell can't be a title contender this year as well. Once again though, the reverse grid race has delivered in the Australian Super Truck Championship. Plenty of action, plenty to talk about. And news from race control, Marcus Prilwitz DQ. They decided that the move on Mark Schutz on lap 1 happened under yellow flag conditions. He has been excluded from the race results. That hands Shannon Smith the win ahead of Barry Butwell and Stephen Zammit. After a captivating 3rd race for the Super Trucks, let's head down to the pits and catch up with the latest news from our drivers.
I think, I'm not sure who was in the 321 Young Guns Racing, but I thought to myself, he's going a little bit too quick in this turn 1 and he ain't going to stop. And he has actually shot across the front of me. Next thing it was mayhem and trucks everywhere, but I come out of that all right. That was cool. When I was going through the sweeper, I didn't realise Steve had snuck up me inside, and then I had no room, and I've gone out to the right-hand side of the sweeper and into the grass. And when I've come back on, I've actually hit the ripple strip, hit the bottom of the gearbox and cracked the gearbox open, the bottom tin sump part of it, and of course there's oil everywhere. So we've ripped it off and welded it all up, and we'll have it going for the last race.
Oh, that sort of was a parting of the sea, and I managed to get through on the inside of Frank Amoroso. I think my son Mitchell went off, causing a bit of traffic, which worked to my advantage. Not that I wanted to see him come off, but you know, wasn't a bad outcome.
It was all smoke there. I just saw a line and went for it, and it paid off all right. I was worried sort of Frank swung around and nearly got me and put me off balance, and I sort of drifted. Did a bit of drifting there in the first corner, but come out all right. So there's a bit of pressure there. Just one mistake, and you knew that you'd sort of lost your spot. So, but it was good fun.
No shortage of drama and controversy in the Super Trucks this weekend, and it's not over yet. Don't go anywhere. We've got the 10-lap Super Pre coming your way next. In the Hi-Tec Oils Australian Super Truck Nationals, there are two different classes. There are the outright Super Trucks and the smaller light trucks. We caught up with the drivers of both varieties of trucks to compare their relative strengths and weaknesses and talk about what it's like for them to battle against one another.
Well, the two main differences would be the Isuzus, which are light truck, they're about 3.5 tonne, or the heavy trucks, which are 5 or 5.5 tonne, depending on their engine capacity.
Yeah, well, it is a big truck on the weight and the size of it compared to the little Isuzus. But, probably we've got more power, probably a bit better braking because we're a bit heavier than the little Isuzus.
More power, a bit more weight there too, so you get more traction around the corners. Small trucks are pretty nimble, wet weather, and all they do pretty well.
In a straight line, much faster. But the little trucks are more nimble on a circuit like Winton, so this is a bit of an equaliser. The little trucks like Winton, and the big trucks seem to, not too bad at Winton, but they seem to prefer Wakefield, which has got the longer, faster straights.
They're pretty quick and nimble, those little Isuzus, so getting around them is not an easy thing to do here at Winton.
Well, the pros and cons of the smaller trucks is they're a lot more nimble, they're half the weight, so they can actually go deeper on the brakes than we can, and their corner speeds are well, not a lot quicker, but a little bit quicker than us, but we just have the horsepower advantage. Otherwise, on this track here, they're quite nimble.
If you've got plenty of brakes up your sleeve, you get them in the braking area or on the straight, because the bigger trucks do accelerate quicker.
A bit slow to hold us up. That's probably the biggest issue. It's just they're a bit hard to get around sometimes, but once we get in the straight there, we get around them the way we go, but around the corners they're a bit hard to get around. They keep it nice and tight.
And mainly the balance of the truck. Little trucks are very light in the rear, so they struggle with their rear braking.
Braking's the big thing for a truck, whether it's a super truck or the Isuzus. It's everyone's got their own ideas on braking. There's some have got water-cooled brakes, some don't. Some have got drum brakes, some have got disc. It all comes down to the driver and the driving style.
Oh, it's not really a drama. We treat it like any other truck. It's a little bit lower. That's about all, actually. But I suppose in the back of our minds, we do think a little bit more because they are smaller than us, so we don't want to hurt anybody. But
It's easy to pass them on a straight, but around them corners, it's pretty hard to actually keep up with them, let alone pass them, you know, especially because you're such a big truck. You need to take as much track as you can, you know, so.
I'd rather be in the big one just quietly, but, you know, rubbin's racing. If we're not rubbing, we're not racing properly. So, you know, we're here to entertain, and that's what we do.
Time for the feature race of the weekend here at the round 2 of the Hi-Tec Oils Australian Super Truck Nationals. This round presented by Regents Park Trucker Line. The feature race, it's the Super Pre, over 10 laps and with grid positions determined based on a reverse grid of qualifying times, which sees Anthony Tringali starting on pole position ahead of Mark Schutz, and once against very fast trucks coming from the back of the grid, Gary.
Yeah, and unlike the earlier race, which was also a reverse grid, but in a different order to what we're seeing in this one, so it should be quite interesting. Again, the faster trucks, we've got the guys that we know will just go for it, like Frank Amoroso, whereas Steve Zammit will probably take things a little bit more conservatively. He's got more to, certainly at peril, because he can lose out big time as far as the championship conditions go.
Underway, and this time it's a better start for Anthony Tringawi. Mark shoots right up on the inside curve as they negotiate their way through turn one. All of the drivers just a little bit more circumspect than they were in the previous reverse grid race. They were saying that big moment there once again for Mitchell Grillwitz, and that's going to scatter the field on the exit of turn two. A couple of drivers, including Mark Schutz, having to take evasive action. Tringawi, though, has held on to the race lead. Not for long, though. Up the inside comes Barry Buckwell, and up to 13, Max Superline. Right, red truck goes to the front. Nice move. He is well positioned to capitalise on some of that drama that happened out of turn two.
Well, we knew the big trucks were going to get by the little ones, but we didn't think it was going to happen that quickly, and through the circumstances of why it happened, with both those trucks having a drama on the opening lap. Fortunately, they've been able to get going. They're having a good little race amongst themselves there too at the back, and you can see Schutz trying to go down the outside of Mitchell Pruitt and gets the job done as they come down to complete the opening lap.
We've heard before about the strengths and weaknesses of the light trucks compared to the big rigs, and good to say that the light trucks putting on a show of their own a bit further back in the pack. Here's Frank Amoroso. He's moved up to second position behind Barry Buckwell and ahead of two rivals, Shannon Smith and Stephen Zammit, the two drivers who are battling it out for championship honours. With the way results have gone so far this weekend, Stephen Zammit has extended his lead over Shannon Smith in the championship standings. Smith would like to get a few points back on Zammit before the end of the weekend.
Keeps looking at them going down the inside. He did turn three, and he's there again trying for another look, but each time Smith's had him covered, and he has to settle him behind.
Frank Amoroso's hard to pass at the best of times, and we know that they will make the fake racing Kenworth very wide indeed.
That truck went through a whole rebuild. Frank missed a season of racing just so he could get that truck down weight-wise, and it seems to be coming on stronger this year, and he doesn't spare the rod when it comes to pushing it.
He doesn't, and that weight loss program included, among other things, a new bonnet, and you might not think that would make a huge difference, but in truck racing, it most certainly does.
We just see Zammit making a move on Smith out of the final corner, and then run down to turn one. Oh, and I think there might have been a touch there. Smith has gone around.
Yeah, Smith spinning out, so Shannon Smith loses a few spots as a result of that one, falls back in behind both Frank Amoroso and Steve Zammit. So they were side by side on the run into turn one, and I think there might have actually been contact there that happened just out of our camera shot between Shannon Smith and Steve Zammit, and it's Smith who's ended up rotating. Fortunately, managed to recover fairly quickly and only lost a couple of positions.
When we talk about the rivalry between the two, I guess that will just fuel it a little bit more.
Well, Zammit definitely had the overlap coming out of the final corner. It could have been that Shannon Smith was maybe just trying to move across and defend, but if there was already overlap and Stephen Zammit was already alongside, then fair bump play on, I say.
He's trying to find a way around Amoroso now, and Frank's awake up to that. Frank's been around the sport a long, long time. We may not have had the equipment under him in the past that he's had, although wide coming out of the last corner there, and here's Zammit going down the inside. Is he close enough? I think there might have been a tiny bit of a touch up there just going into turn one, but Zammit got out of it and let Frank take the spot.
Indeed, so Zammit once again, it looks like he had the overlap there, but Amoroso was able to break just a fraction later into turn one, which means that he holds on to that position for the time being. Like I said, Frank Amoroso, a wily campaigner, the veteran of truck racing, and when it comes to racecraft, it's not only very hard to pass, but it's also spectacular to watch. He has a reputation for being one of the most entertaining drivers on the track.
And he's holding up Zammit just enough so that that our race leader can get further away, and Zammit, you can see he's keen to get past and just no way to do it right at the moment.
The fact that Barry Butwell's been able to get cleared track so early on has really worked to his advantage. He's been able to build a sizable buffer over his pursuers, and this looks like it could be a bit of a drama here for the Marcus Prilwitz truck. Feeling smoke puffing out of the back of that truck as he gets passed on the rundown into turn number 8 by Shannon Smith. Shannon Smith, of course, on the comeback trailers here. Once again, Zammit goes this time to the outside of Frank Amoroso. That's difficult to try and go the long way round through turn 1. Can Zammit hang tough around the outside? They'll go side by side. Drops the left wheels off the side of the racetrack, but he's pulled the move off.
That's a
unbelievable. Unbelievable move from Stephen Zammit. It's hard enough to go round the outside of someone in a car through turns 1 and 2 on the short circuit of Winton, let alone a huge race truck. What a move.
Well, I tend to think too that Zammit would have been getting frustrated, and he could see Smith was starting to make some progress on him as well, and he was desperate to get past, and he did it so well.
Very impressive move, you'd have to say. Move of the weekend there for Stephen Zammit. So up to second position, and now he's got some clear track at his disposal to start mowing down the margin that Barry Butwell has been able to extend over the first half of this race. Let's take another look at this breathtaking move for Stephen Zammit. You can see that he's starting to set the move up coming out of the final sequence of corners, turns 8, 9 and 10. He found himself on the outside of Frank Amoroso heading down the main straight. Now normally that would not be the ideal position to get an overtaking manoeuvre done, but such was the confidence of Stephen Zammit that he was able to hold around the outside. He was right to the edge, in fact a bit beyond the edge of the racetrack, and he was able to sail through take second position. Barry Butwell's opened up a 7-second margin over Stephen Zammit, and he's only got 6 seconds to reel that in, so it's more than a second a lap that Stephen Zammit has to find if he wants to catch Barry Butwell. Then he has to find a way past as well. As we take a look back at the battle between Shannon Smith and Frank Amoroso, Smith, you would have to say, has done a really good job of recovering the lost time from that spin earlier on, and those two trucks are now becoming engaged in their battle for what will be position 3.
Well, that was an interesting move because initially Smith was going to try and do it the same way that Zammit did, but then he took the cut corner inside line to try and get down underneath Amoroso in the run to turn 2, but couldn't quite pull it off.
No, he couldn't, and Amoroso, wily veteran, was well awake to that one and parked his truck in exactly the right position to make sure Smith wasn't able to get the job done. Smith looking for the run out of turn 7. Didn't quite get the drive out of the corner, I don't think. Amoroso will be ahead when they get to the braking zone at turns 8, 9 and 10. Marcus Prilwitz closing in as well, so it's becoming a three-way contest. Positions 3, 4 and 5. There's a look on screen at what the margin looks like between Barry Butwell and Stephen Zammit. It's come down a bit. It's come down by about 9/10 of a second that time through, but still a pretty sizable margin. It's still more than 6 seconds separating Stephen Zammit from Barry Butwell. So Zammit's going to have to dig deep, and he's going to have to punch out more of those lap record times that we saw in the earlier races if he wants to have a chance of winning this one.
Well, so far, Shannon Smith has not been able to get past Amoroso. He tried to get past the previous lap, but he wasn't quite close enough on this occasion to try the same move once again.
Barry Butwell just sailing off into the distance, and Marcus Prilwitz, massive smoke pouring out of the number 31 Max Superliner. That truck has blown up to lux, and flames now starting to belch out of the exhaust as well. That's not a healthy sign at all for Marcus Prilwitz, and that's a shame. It's been a pretty tough weekend for him so far. The disqualification for race 3, and now what looks to be a pretty serious and probably terminal mechanical failure in the final race of the weekend.
That white smoke would suggest that it's probably a turbo that's gone. Replay of all that smoke coming out of the Max Superliner, the number 31 truck. Carting along the smoke screen that a battleship would be proud of.
Marcus Prilwitz's day is done. I think the good news, though, is that he has managed to get that truck parked in a fairly safe position, so I don't think it's going to prompt the safety car interruption. Hopefully it hasn't put too much fluid down on the racetrack.
He actually brings it out of turn 7 and gets straight over on the grass. Don't know if it'll do the grass much good, but at least the trucks will be able to continue racing.
So the battle continues between Frank Amoroso and Shannon Smith. And again, Amoroso defending on the inside into turn one. Smith not able to do the big outside move that we saw from Stephen Zammit a few laps ago. 2.5 laps remaining in this race. But well, just managing the gap back to Zammit at the front of the field, hovering at around 4 seconds or thereabouts. 2.5 laps remaining.
There's Butwell coming through the cleavage up to turn 7. Head off onto the straight. Still ahead of Zammit. Interesting that truck, which dates back to the Rob Russell's, Joe Scarcella days, hasn't got much in common with the truck that they ran back then, apart from the chassis rails. About the only thing that's the same sort of power train, but obviously a different engine and gearbox. And apart from that, just 2 chassis rails, one apparently fairly warped.
Good to see Barry Butwell having a relatively trouble-free weekend after some of the challenges that they've encountered with their turbo setups, the fact that they went back to the single turbo, they weren't able to get it performing how they wanted to in terms of either horsepower or reliability. They've gone back to the twin turbo. Barry Butwell said, we've gone back to basics this weekend, we've gone back to what we know. We're trying not to overcomplicate things because when we try too hard, we find that things go wrong. And so far, that philosophy of simplicity seems to be working well for Barry and his team.
Yeah, I believe they did put a new wastegate on this truck for this meeting, so that may help them a bit. And still, this battle goes on. And Shannon Smith watched Steve Zammit try and get past Frank Amoroso, and now he's got to try the same thing. So far, it hasn't been able to work. It'll be a fairly frustrating ride.
Here we are on board with Frank Amoroso. I do love the open face helmet and the fact that you can try and facial expressions. I remember back in 2014 when Frank Amoroso won the championship after 27 years of trying. And to see him rolling his eyes out as he crossed the finish line, that was one of the iconic pieces of super truck vision that we've seen over the years. But right now he's having to concentrate pretty hard, Frank Amoroso, because he's got a feisty and fired up Shannon Smith hot on his heels.
Well, I think he's actually pulled a bit of a gap in that last half of that particular lap, and now we're on the final lap. Can he afford to relax just a little bit? Looks like he's still working fairly hard though, doesn't it? He brings the truck around up towards the top half of the track for the final time, and he looks fairly relaxed all the way that he's changing the gears on that Kenworth.
So just to explain that, yes, it is an automatic transmission, but you still select the gear that you want manually. It means that you just don't have to worry about Barry Butwell, exemplary performance, got to the lead early after negotiating his way through great skill in the opening lap, and he's going to pick up the race victory in the Super Prix here at Winton Motor Raceway. Well done to Barry Butwell. Takes out the final race of the weekend. Stephen Zammit comes home second, and he will win the round. Back-to-back round wins for Stephen Zammit. He will extend his championship lead. And Frank Amoroso, he has managed to pull a gap on Shannon Smith, so he will come home in position 3. And boy, is he happy about it.
He's worked hard for that. He's had to hold off some fairly fast trucks to do it.
Confirmation of your final race results. Barry Butwell, your race winner. The final margin about 3.5 seconds back to Stephen Zammit. A very happy Frank Amoroso holding on for third ahead of Shannon Smith. Mark Schutz, best of the light trucks in position 5. Back there to Anthony Tringali and Mitchell Krillwitz. Marcus Krillwitz capping off a disappointing weekend with the DNF.
I was a bit down when we finished 4th in that last race, so it's a bit disappointing, but it's truck racing. No, I copped a few biffs and bangs, but yeah, there's probably a few things we can adjust when we get home and try and get the best out of it the next round.
We ended up getting two first places in the race, a third place and a second place. So all in all, it's I think it's a couple of extra points in the championship and a couple of points clear for the round. So we've got a hefty lead coming back here in September. And yeah, I think we'll utilise it and keep pushing forward. We definitely like to put on a good show out here, and you know, when there's 3 trucks going down the main straight, they're all fighting for a 1 truck wide corner. It does get a bit exciting, so I'm glad we've ended up on top.
We changed the steering box, and we had a few steering issues of it locking up, and we got that under control. Didn't get much time out there. We only got out there to do the last 3 laps of qualifying, so we didn't get much time on the track, but from then it just all went right. Absolute dream start. See you later. I'm like, where you was all gone, that was it. He could, if he had more time, he would have caught up to me, but he wouldn't have got past me, no way.
Let's have a look at your Australian Super Truck Championship points after the first 2 rounds, and it's Stephen Zammit with a 12-point lead over Shannon Smith. Barry Butwell's right there in the game as well, sitting in 3rd position. Frank Amoroso moving up to 4th position ahead of Marcus Prilwitz. Robbie Fern, shocking weekend for him. He's dropped back into position 6 on the points table. Well, there was plenty of action, a little bit of drama, and a touch of controversy as well, but in the end, Gary, it was Stephen Zammit who reigned supreme once again.
The Hi-Tec Oil Super Trucks certainly delivered, and the reverse grid races made it spectacular as well. But as you said, Zammit did the job, got the points he needed, and he's doing it in a more conservative manner, I felt, this year, with just 2 wins out of the 4 races, 1 win at the first round. So he's only won 3 out of the last 8 races, but still leads the championship.
Well, we'll see if he can maintain that winning form when the Super Trucks return to the track for the next round of Winton Motor Raceway in September. Thanks for your company on behalf of Gary O'Brien. I'm Lockie Mansell. See you next time.